So the question is asked is that if you have enough judgment, the person who's doing it as you're doing it, saying, what is it in me? Or what is lack in me that makes me then need to defend myself? Now, if somebody came in and said, outright say, Susie, did you do this? Then you can say, no, I did not, right? But even then, nobody's saying your name. You're just saying, oh, this is broken. And you go like, well, I hope they don't, in your head, I hope they don't think that I did it.
Which is, yeah.
And so on. And all of a sudden, just think about it. As you say that, your whole body tightens up, right? Your throat tightens up. I mean, people don't watch the physical changes it takes place mentally. Next thing you know, you're getting headaches, right? Just even me saying that. Can you just feel all the muscles
like
locking? Yes, all exactly. So it is that the capacity to learn to breathe, but just think about that. Just kind of illuminate on that. How many places have we done that? How do I stop that? Because if you can just stop that, your life will change.
It's a big deal, though.
It's a huge deal to break that pattern. You know, your boss walks in and say something, or say, you know, we didn't make enough money. The company's, you know, the quarterly's down, whatever. All of a sudden, oh my God, am I going to get fired? Or is it going to be me, right? That's always that.
It's like you always assume that you did something wrong or it's your fault.
But also don't forget that boss who just came and did that, he or she may have an alternative motive to get you all fired up, thinking you might get fired. So he needs everybody to, what's the word I'm looking for? He wants people to be more motivated. He needs you to produce more or whatever. So it's all very fear-based because they're just going to come and just drop the bomb and kind of walk out, right? But then everybody reacts to it like, oh my God. Okay. And those are the things that has been perpetuating this whole world. So that's when we come in to what is my value? That's where it comes in. Is what am I willing to put up with? Because as my grandmother said, nobody starts as cow thief. We start as needle thief. It's not just the little things. You give in, whether in multiple ways. You just give in just a little bit, whatever, your principle, or okay, just for the sake of the peace, I'm just going to go along. And sure, a lot of things we have to do. But you have to decide which one are you willing to do, which one is worth, which one is going to take you into a place it's going to be total mess. Like sometimes you just say, you know, somebody might say, can I borrow your car? And you say, okay. Well, they might take the car and you assuming they're going to return it in after they run their errands. And they don't. Right? They don't. But as they go by and you say, oh, you just, in your head, it was really simple. We just say, sure, you can run errands. Well, next thing now, you have to pick up a phone, you have to make a phone call, you have to tell them to return the car, and now it becomes a big deal, right? Again, that developing your ability to discern yourself, right? That how many of us, because we don't take the time to supersede, analyze, trust our intuitions, because you don't give a 2-year-old a gun to play with, do you? You just don't, because that would be foolish, right? Just because they're grown up and running around in a grown-up body, that doesn't mean they are capable. Or do they think like you, right? There's a lot of assumption going on, But so next thing you know is your life is completely wrapped around this thing that you say yes to, thinking, oh, it's a 2-hour deal, right? Now, God only knows. You know, that person could have taken that car and on the way could have had an accident and maybe they weren't insured. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of, then everybody, but now you become really angry. Your life becomes, now you're all consumed with trying to fix this, right? So how many things, because we are running under the name of busy life, Assume. Stop assuming. Isn't that what the word goes? That when you assume, you make an ass out of me. Yeah.
How do you maintain a neutral charge and still like set that boundary with other people? Because I feel like oftentimes people they don't get the point if they don't feel like a sense of urgency or anger or like, hey, like I'm not joking, like I need this, like you need to like not cross that line with me anymore. How do you do that respectfully and like centered?
Well, again, that word respectfully, it's, I think it has a lot of connotation of like being a doormat, right? That if they're like, oh, I'm just going to honor, you're just a nice person. No, if you do something wrong, you might still be a nice person, but what you did isn't so nice, and I have a right to is then again, you have to decide, do you want to maintain that relationship, or that you have to feel good enough to say, no, you may not cross this boundary. You don't have to shout, no, you can't do it. So you sever it, you take care of it, but there will be consequences. They're going to think you are a really bad person or whatever because you didn't go along with them, right? So that is some of the decision that work that we have to do for ourselves to feel good and have a value. When I say value, it means self-worth. That what price are you willing, it's like having a friend, it's like, well, let's just use an example, and I'm going all over the place instead of sticking to the one, but let's say you were out for driving, and your friend, well, somebody told me the story, and it's going to be a long story, so I'm going to cut it, but in terms of, well, let's say your friend comes to pick you up, and your friend says, would you mind driving? And they park in the front of the bank or whatever, and you realize they want you to drive a getaway car, right? All of a sudden, this is my best friend. Like, what are you doing? Da 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 da. And you say, well, he's my best friend. So he said, I'm going in the bank. You kind of got the idea. I'm just using a little bit of an exaggerated, but he's going in there, and you just moved over your seat to their seat, and he said, when I come out, I want you to drive, right? So it's a quick decision. Get the hell out of the car. Get out of the car. Well, they're going to get caught. And you just say to them, I'm not doing it. So in other words, you can get in the name of a goodness, a friend, or respectful, I'm going to deal with it. It could ruin your whole life. How many people have done that? We all, in some strange ways, we have done it. Well, they were my friends all my life, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course it was. There's some things that you value yourself enough that you don't allow other people to take you hostage. Because essentially, when people do things that is not for your well-being, or they don't want them being done to them, and they're doing to you, that means they have no respect for you. It's all about them. So we are not being a loving kind by going along with the spoiled brat, or whatever you want to call, right? Selfish person who doesn't care about what they are doing to you. So in other words, even they have a crisis, that they would have enough decency to not to jeopardize you, right? So if that person who doesn't do that, they're not your friend. Right? What does a friend means? Right? Then that's the questions that you have to ask yourself about, why am I friends with this? It's a very loosely used word, right? And again, there's levels. There's levels. And if your evolution, not the good or the bad, but if we are only in this level and this is a relationship that we're maintaining, maybe that's all you can handle. But if you can see the difference, saying this is not the path I want to go down, this is the person that's making me really uncomfortable, and you go along with it, then you are complicit in the destruction of your life. It's not on them, it's on you. Does that make sense? Because it's so easy to blame others And they may be doing things to make you fall into that trap. That's the that's the teachable moments. It could be really a good test, right? How far that you would be willing to go to save relationships, even though you know they're harming you. Then I just kick it to really fast. Then the question really comes bluntly. You have to ask yourself, how much do I dislike myself?
See, that's the key. That's a key. I found that years ago, I always not went along and did anything bad, but like for an example, like even at work, you can work the weekend, right? You can do this, you can cover this, and I didn't like myself enough and I didn't feel good enough about myself. So I was always like the doormat. I was always like, oh, okay, oh, Susie will cover. And through hearing you talking and me me learning, like I actually said no this a few months ago when I was asked, oh, you can work this weekend, right? And it took everything I had, and I said, no, I can't. And unless it's an extreme emergency, please don't ask me again. And I went in the bathroom and cried after that. I really did, because I was like, did I just say no? But it was amazing. The next time somebody else wanted a day, my boss had to go, oh gosh, maybe I'll have to come in. And he said it in front of me, and normally the old me would have gone, oh, that's okay. I didn't say anything. I just sat down, and it was like it killed me, because I'm always the first one to go, oh, okay, I'll do it. And
Yeah.
drawing that line, even that one time, made me feel so much better.
Right. And I think that's the key, because that is a one example, but that plays out in everywhere and everything what we do. And that's a long way. You have grown so much in a long, when you look at it in the linear wise, what we've been doing. So, but you're not the only one. The whole world played this out in some way and in some form. But the bottom line is they're realizing how special every single one of us are, even the ones who's doing it and the ones who's not. Because at the end of the day, when you get to know yourself, when you get to value your journey, then you cannot but to go inward and ask these questions and ask. And that when I do intuitive coaching, when I say to people, when I say certain things, are you going to tell me a story? Because everybody has a story. And then I'm going to look at it and realize, I say, I think it might be that way. You cannot be offended. Well, actually, you can be offended, I say. But if you're going to be offended, then you need to save your money and don't come to me, because you really are not ready to hear the truth. If you're willing to overview, minimum, you don't even have to tell me I was right, because I don't care. I don't care that I was right, that you were wrong. What I care is that you had enough love of yourself and the wisdom to reflect on, is there any truth to that? Is that aspects of me? Is really that my ego, the need to defend myself or to be liked, has just checked in. So then go, oh, okay. And that will give you a space to work on yourself, because then you acknowledge something is off. So that's not a good, you're a bad person or you're a weak person or you're any of those things. You see, if we can take the time long enough to realize why we do what we do, why we say what we say, then do what we do, then it really gives you a moment to grow within yourself. Every one of us. Okay. And so that could be just really dive in and through. And Nick, did I answer your question? Yeah. Again, it doesn't have to be harsh, but then I think at the end of the day is that how you draw the boundary, is that realize what's happening isn't a good thing. It's not a good thing, what that person's doing. So it's not what is it, cut the bait or cut your loss or whatever the expression goes. It isn't so much that. is that it's like looking at that little you. If you were a child and you say, how do I protect this child? And you wouldn't let somebody else do that to you, right? To that child, right? So why would you let anybody? Because that you deserve, it is that you today, the Nick, who knows and who recognize, because child may not recognize what's happening, that bad, but you recognize it. So it behooves you. It is your job to take care of yourself. That's, to me, it is the absolute God-given gift that we should all honor. Like there's no greater gift than yourself that the Creator has given to every one of us. And if we don't think enough about ourselves, not from the selfish place, but from a place of taking care of, respecting, cultivating. So if you allow somebody else to kind of push you over, minimize you, hurt you, that means you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking care of, that. But again, there's no one way in life. There's always circumstances that get us in the position. You can't always speak up. You can't always tell them to, as my husband used to say, it's so easy for me to tell everybody to go F off. It isn't. But there is lines that you're not going to cross. Lines that you're not going to cross. And those are really important. And it isn't as simple as just saying like, oh, you're going to just click. It's a practice. That little things, when opportunity comes and situation comes, that you practice. You had your opportunity when, in your age, not to give away, but you were in your 60s?
I'm 60, I just turned 66.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that.
No, that's why I don't
Yeah.
care. Hey,
But
listen, I've earned every wrinkle, every gray hair.
But again, it's taken this long
Yeah.
and finally
And
get
it
to the
has.
place and to say, but
To say enough that I like myself and I respect myself.
yeah,
enough to
that's
say
not
no.
working out. That's not fair.
Yeah.
You're saying that's not fair. But think about it. 66 years of your life, much of it. How many moments of that kind of situation you've been enduring? But there's other caveat to all that. When you were doing it, it wasn't just that situation. That situation shaped you of the person that you will become because of all the things, wounds and hurts that you felt, because inside of you it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
And you felt like not
You felt
honor and
resentful
right.
Yeah.
And that shapes us who we become today. Then I can end like a 12 class today, right now, right? So this is going to be an opportunity for all of you. So we're going to dive into those things. And I want you to meditate on it, think about it, without feeling like you are being bad or good. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's where is love? What does that make you feel good? And I always say to people, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't make you feel good, if it doesn't feel like joy, let it go, because it won't be. It's like when you say yes to something, you feel enthusiastic, live in that and do it with that enthusiasm. If you feel like they're dragging you, like, oh my God, you have to tell yourself, I have to put up with this, and in 30 days, this is going to be over, blah, blah, blah. That just is a torture for the next 30 days. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because one way or another, we're all going to die. That is always, as my podcast goes, you're still going to die. So you have a choice of living joyfully for the next 30 days, or be miserable for the next 30 days. Choose which poison, right? And nobody dies. Nobody dies.